Hey guys, welcome back to Tampa Bay Cop Talk. We have another episode of Origin Stories, and this time on this episode, we have our Tampa Bay Cop Talk's very own Jordan. I'm going to anglicize this Carreno, however you want to pronounce it. How you doing, Jordan?
I'm doing good. It's always a good day to talk about Liverpool.
Always, man. I mean, obviously, we are recording during the international break. We are suffering from a bit of a hangover. We got our butts taken to us at the villain's house the other day.
Yes.
So I'm still stressed out about that. How you feeling?
I'm all right. I'd forgotten about it, and then you brought it up, so that's pretty rude of you. But yeah, I'm all right. You know.
Yeah, I'm the a-hole. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, origin stories. I'm all about that, and I realized while we've been doing this podcast together that I don't know your origin story. So I wanted to bring you on the show and get like what makes you a Liverpool fan? Why, when, how? You know. Tell me, when was your first your drink with Liverpool, so to speak? Come on, tell us.
So I've mentioned many times on the podcast living in England.
Right.
So born in 91, when I was 9 years old. So in the year 2000 or 1999, my dad announced to the family that he had a job opportunity to go and work in England and that we were going to go do that. I was devastated to be moving to a foreign country at such a young age. Because I'd been like the same school my whole life. Devastated. My sister was really excited because she had this idea in her head that she was going to be a princess and drink with the queen and like do all that sort of stuff.
Right. Meet a Spice Girl or two, probably.
Yeah, exactly. Like she was like, "Oh, this is amazing." I'm devastated, crying under a table in the living room. Whatever. Right. But we move over there the year 2000. So the fall of 2000, start the school year and all that sort of stuff. And my first memories of Liverpool are actually the day we moved in to our house. So a funny thing about England, and it's not so much true anymore, but when I moved over there, England is a developed first world country, but in many ways it's not so advanced.
Fired, kids.
No, they still have like radiators in their houses rather than like central heating, stuff like that. There's still like old, like Tudor, Victorian style houses with like thatch roofs and stuff, and the roads are real tiny, whatever. But one of the things they did not have in England when we moved there was a big screen televisions.
Right.
And right before my dad got this job offer, one of the things he did was buy this massive, and this is the year like 1999. So this massive 68-inch rear projection big screen television. And this was like the centerpiece of our living room. And like, he'd invite buddies over to watch the pay-per-view fights and the football games on the TV. So when we moved to England, he was like, I can't part ways with this TV. They don't have anything like it over there. We're bringing the TV. I don't care.
Even though there's different voltage and shit, he somehow made it work.
Yeah, well, so they have like transformers over there that you can plug in. By the way, I blew my first PlayStation 2 because when we got there, I just like plugged it into the wall with an adapter, just blew it.
Yeah, I did the same thing in Poland, man. When I moved there, I blew an Xbox. Oh, so sad.
Yeah, it is. It's just a sad moment because there's no going back. It's just like a quick little motion, and then you're like, oh wait, no. But you got a transformer to fix the voltage problem. But so when you move overseas, they got to put a bunch of your delicate stuff in these. They got to build like these big custom wooden crates or whatever. Right. And so as the story goes, is these English lads are pulled up to our little cul-de-sac in this little English village called Gerrards Cross, which might have been an omen towards the team I was going to choose. Yeah, I know, right? Sometimes I think about it. And so in the back of this moving truck is this big, massive wooden box, and they don't know what's in it. But they're talking about it all day. Like, what do you think's in the box? Like, is it a big dresser? Like, what could be in this massive fucking box? And my dad's all like giddy with excitement because if you didn't know my dad, like, he liked people like basking in his glory and like taking in his cool things or cool stories that he had. So he was getting real excited about the prospect of these English people who had never seen anything like this massive TV, unboxing it. But it's raining, so he's telling them, like, you can't unpack it until the rain's done. You can't unpack it until the rain's done. Rain clears for a little bit, which is, a moment of a miracle in England sometimes. But the rain clears, and they finally open the box. And when they see what's inside it, it's like, in the movie where, like, the clouds part, the sun comes down, and then there's a chorus of, oh! It was like that. And they're all like, holy shit, look at this. And they immediately turn to my dad and they go, look, if we get everything in and we set up your skybox, can we at least watch a little bit of the football during lunch? And my dad was like, of course, because he wants these, English guys to like bask in the glory of the TV or whatever. And they turn it on. And when they get it all set up, the first memories I have is like watching like Steven Gerrard and Michael Owen play, because my first impression was like, oh, in England, if you're a child, you can still be a professional athlete,
Yeah.
And I just, from that moment on, I don't know if it was the red kits. I don't know if it was because Gerrard was a younger player. But that they turned on the TV and I was hooked. And like, funny enough, my dad's like shadow, like business partner or whatever that was supposed to show him around the city and get him settled, actually gifted me a Chelsea kit when I arrived to England. Oh. And I never wore it. I never like fancied it, like, smart at the age of 9, basically a child genius.
Yeah.
But yeah, they cracked the TV open. They put Liverpool match on, I think, or maybe highlights or something on Sky. And I was, from that moment on, the seed was planted.
And those guys, if you don't, maybe you don't remember correctly, but they weren't Liverpool fans per se, or they were just football fans in general?
They were just football fans, and I just think they just needed to see how this TV worked and what it all looks like.
They want, is this real?
Yeah, well, it's like the Americans. We're Americans. It's got to be big. It's got to be bold, and so like it was like the most American thing they had probably ever seen in their lives up to that point. Yeah.
I mean, you can only be more American if you had like 3 shotguns in the truck, basically.
No, exactly. So we were just living up to the stereotypes, but they just wanted to see how it all worked, and like this can't possibly.
So that's the first memory you have, and then so I'm assuming you went to school. Then how did that evolve? Was that your full way into like fitting in? Was that your like, hey guys, I like football too, be friends?
So funny enough, when we were shopping for schools, we did like look at the local like British schools. But all of the like headmasters there were like, we're going to be honest with you. All of these kids have been together since they were, 4 or 5 years old. Because, we were living in a village, essentially. There wasn't a lot of people in the town. Jordan is going to come in and be an outcast. And, it's going to be hard for him to settle because, first of all, he's a foreigner. Second of all, these kids literally have been together their whole lives. It'll be tough. So we actually ended up finding what is called, they have these schools overseas called the American Community Schools. They're like sprinkled all throughout Europe and Asia, some are in Africa. And there was one like, a 30-minute ride up the M4, I think it was, or maybe the M25 up to Hillingdon, where it was ACS Hillingdon. So I ended up going to an American Community School.
Okay.
What's cool about that is like 50% of my peers were American kids and like expats. And then like the other ones were from all over the world. And, still to your point though, is that like the common language between all of us ended up being football. Like, the first day before school starts, they had this like big event where all the families could come out and like you can meet kids in your grade or whatever. And it was just in this big field behind the school. And basically they would just like roll a football out onto the patch and there'd be 2 goals set up. And then like all the boys would just play soccer together. And like, you couldn't even speak the same languages. Like there was just kids that showed up from Sweden, couldn't speak English, like people from Japan, China, Turkish kids, Israelis, and like, you all can't speak the same language, but you can play football. But yeah, I mean, when you move to a foreign country, you have to adopt some of the customs and cultures. Otherwise, you're going to be an outcast. And England is a football mad country. It's really the only sport that's on TV consistently. We didn't have access to a lot of NFL or NBA or NHL, anything like that. So like if you were going to watch a sport, you had to get into soccer or football. And yeah, I mean, part of it was like, you know what, I better get into this because this is my new existence. And sometimes I just think it was like this, destiny thing and that was the moment. And that's where it started. And yeah, I mean, you have to get into the football if you're living in England.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, every British person I've met over the years has been football mad for sure. So yeah, that's very interesting. And obviously, you almost like that school kind of reminds me of what like diplomat kids do or very high.
It was it had a very like diplomat kid feel to it. Cause like I said, like, I still have friends today, like Japanese, Norwegian, Swedish, and like, you know, as football aside, and football kind of ties into this, like when you grow up in that environment as a kid, what you end up learning and like your worldview is like, oh, you know what, like they might wear different clothing, eat different food, have different like religions or whatever, but at the same time, all we really want to do at lunch is play football against each other, you know, like we're the same.
Absolutely.
We're the same.
So then I would imagine going to that school and being in that environment with football as your, you know, as your friend, it made for an easy transition coming, you know, to the new country, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm like that generation of American kids that all grew up playing youth soccer.
Right.
And even though up to that age of 9, I never played like club or competitive, like, you know, playing rec soccer or whatever. So you join the school team and like, you know, all the lads in your grade are on the school team, and via the school team, one of the kids that was there already was playing for a local club, and we basically would just pull all the best players from our school team and go play with them on the club down the road. And our local club ended up being like a Premier League team because we had like the core English players, but then there was like an American in net, a Japanese striker, a Turkish midfielder, a Chinese right back, and you know, it was the vibe. But yeah, football was the common thread that, like, you know,
Right.
brought us together when we couldn't speak together or really know each other.
Sure. That's awesome. So then, as a football as a general, you know, tool for that, how did that evolve into Liverpool? Obviously, you said you follow Steven Gerrard, but then wouldn't that have been reinforced by meeting other peers that were interested in Liverpool, or was it all just banter left and right? They were all United fans, because this is again the late '90s, right?
So like that first half year was definitely like this learning about what it actually means to be a football fan, because it's floating out there somewhere. And I maybe I shouldn't even admit this on record, but I have a school photo of me and a Manchester United kid.
Oh shit!
The year I moved there was like their 100-something year, and they had these special kits, and I didn't know that, like, you know, Liverpool, Man United,
the enemy,
death rivals, you can't interact at all. And I'm not living up in Liverpool, so I'm not getting embedded in the full Liverpool culture, and not everyone around me is a Liverpool fan. And yeah, they had this for a 9-year-old, it was a really boss kit. It was reversible, and one side was like gold and black, and the other side was like white and black with gold accents.
Was it like the Pokemon cards back in the day? It was like holographic and shit.
Yeah, exactly. And it was just there used to be this like outlet mall for JB Sports like down the road, and you could get football kits for like 15 pounds. And so like all the cool ones, you just be like, yeah, give me that. Eventually I learned like very quickly, like, oh no, we're deathly enemies, and I got rid of that kit immediately. I promise everyone. Did
you sell it? Did you get your money back?
I think I just threw it away, or gave it to one of my friends or something. I don't remember. But yeah, so what reinforced it, honestly, is that year Liverpool ended up winning a treble. They won the League Cup in February, then they won the FA Cup in May, and the UEFA Cup in May.
Right.
And following those runs is kind of what solidified it. I mean, when you're 9 years old, you know, like when I was little, I liked the Cowboys. Why did I like the Cowboys? Because the Cowboys were always winning. You know, you're 5 years old. 6 years old.
When you're a kid, it makes no sense. You're just like it's a standard base instinct, unfortunately.
Yeah.
You have no
so
logic.
I just, these cool guys in red that I like, that I just started watching with the kids playing, are winning things. So that's pretty cool. And they win the treble. And I remember like coming into school on one of the last few days with like the paper clipping of like Michael Owen from the UEFA Cup, like doing their goalkeeper and scoring a goal, and like showing it to everyone like, yeah, that's right, Liverpool won, or whatever, you know?
Right.
And so that like solidified it. But then what really solidified it is when I went to Anfield the next year.
Okay. So tell us so how old are you then? What, 11?
10 or 11. I must have been 10 years old. Probably
bastard.
still 10.
How daddy set that up for you on your birthday?
So here's what happens, right? Like I told you, the guy that my dad shadowed with was a Chelsea fan, got me a Chelsea kit, just didn't work out.
Right.
But, you know, obviously there's cooler talk going on at the office. My dad's the boss here, basically. So everyone's, you know, talking to him, and he's telling these people that he works with, like, oh, my son's getting into Liverpool. We watched, he begged me to stay up to watch the UEFA Cup last night, and it went to extra time. And he worked with 2 guys that had season tickets on the Cup at Anfield.
What?
And they were like, you know, like any proper Liverpool fan, like realizing, oh, wait, we have a chance to steal one here and take over his soul for the rest of his life. They were like, yo, you need to take him to Anfield. And more importantly than that, you need to go sit on the Kop with him at Anfield. And so the next season, they gave us, at the time, like season tickets were like these little booklets of paper that you got stamped like every time you went to the match.
God,
Yeah.
that's nuts. I
So
mean,
they
for
gave
those
us,
who don't know, at least I went in 2014.
yeah.
Yeah, and it was a card. It's like a credit card. You like insert, and then the gate opens and allows you in. So yeah, I'm thinking old school, like the NFL, like the tickets. It was just like that kind of, but maybe not as.
Well, it was like a paper booklet, and you walked up to someone before the turnstile, and they like inspected it to make sure it was correct, and then they like
It was
signed
like a book
off.
of checks, basically.
Yeah, basically, it was like a checkbook little thing. It was like, you know, it was because like I've been going to Bucks games, and you got like a ticket, and they tore the stub and then gave you the ticket.
Yeah. Kind of like.
But it wasn't even really like that. It was like a booklet thing. I remember thinking like, what the hell is this? This is gonna get us into the game, Dad? Are you really that sure?
But what's more dangerous about that is like, what if you lose the damn booklet?
No, I know. It was
like,
once again, remember,
how does that even work?
Started off the episode. England was a developed country, but in many ways they weren't.
We're backwards, man. Backwards. That's that's what we learned here today, for sure. All right, so you get in with the stamps. You're at the Cop. Do you remember the game? What was the result? How'd Dad feel about it? Tell me about all that.
So, when I was a kid, I was like, when I went to a sporting event, it wasn't kickoff that we needed to be there by. We had to be there by warm-ups. Like I needed to see the team warm up. Oh I need to see the Bucks run their little routes and everything. I need to see it all. I can't miss anything, right? And so like we get to Anfield, and like I remember we like walked around where the like outside of the Cop area and like took in a little bit of the atmosphere. But my dad like was always like, hey, let's go check some stuff out. And I was like, no, we gotta go in. So we get in super early. Watch the warm-ups, just taking it all in. You know, they're playing the songs over the tannoy or whatever, just sitting in the Cop, not really understanding what's going on. And when I was told we were going to Anfield, like I made a point to like memorize "You'll Never Walk Alone," but I had no idea about like all the other chants or whatever.
Right.
It was, funnily enough, it was against Aston Villa, and it was a loss.
Oh God.
But I tell everyone, you know, like again, there's all these like little signs, and like maybe is it destiny? Like I saw the most Steven Gerrard game. He scored the only goal, and then he got sent off. And like, you know, what more could you want from a Steven Gerrard performance at your first time at Anfield and all of that? My most like fortified memory is early on in the game. There's a corner kick at the Cop end, and I'm like sat down in my seat, and everyone else has stood up around me. Because it's a corner kick at the Cop end, everyone stands up, right?
Right.
But I didn't know the customs of being on the Cop and like, you know, what we were supposed to do, the motions. And I just remember this Scouse man smacking me on the back of my head, saying,
"Oh my God,"
saying, "Get up, lad." And I look up at my dad, and he looks down at me, and he says, "Get up, lad." And I stood up, and I did not like sit down any more times when people were standing up. I learned.
Hey, as I always say, a little child abuse is good. You know, puts hair on your chest, right?
No, exactly. But yeah, I just remember like you know, for people who have had the opportunity to go to Anfield and even like more so like sit on the Cop and be a part of it, I was just enamored. You know, I'm a 9-year-old American kid. I've never experienced anything like that. The flags, the singing, "You'll Never Walk Alone," you know, it was all just like overwhelming. And it was very much like a spiritual experience, a baptism, so to speak.
Yeah, no, that's a good way to put it, for sure.
From that moment, I was hooked, like really going to Anfield and sitting on the Cop and seeing everything. I didn't even care that we lost. Like, I can't even tell you much about the match other than it was a Gary McAllister cross to Steven Gerrard, and he put it in. But yeah, I remember leaving the ground. We went to the club store, got a couple kits. I bought a team photo, and we got a program. And on the train ride back, on the back of the team photo, matched up player faces to the names in the program so that I could know every player in the squad. Because I was like, nope, if we're going to do this, we're going to do this properly.
Right.
And then arriving back home, downloading as many Liverpool chants as I could off of BearShare, if you remember the
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah, like it's like a competitor to like LimeWire and Kazaa and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, because there was no other way for me to learn the chants. Like I couldn't understand like watching TV what they were singing because it's like a Scouse accent in a crowd.
And there's no subtitles. Like what kind of shit is that?
But I realized I was like, I don't know all the songs. I need to know all the songs. And like, so for sitting in Anfield from that point forward, I was diehard, had to obsessed, consumed everything Liverpool, subscribed to the magazine, became a junior member, got the kits every single year, and I was hooked.
And the rest is history. Wow, fantastic. And no, I'm curious though. Your dad goes. I mean, obviously, a nice father-son moment. What does he feel like? Is he a fan? Does he like football, or he just did it for you because he's a good dad? Like,
he just did it for me because he's a good dad. The history of him as a football fan was that he would just cheer for whoever was playing against Liverpool. And like when Jose Mourinho came to Chelsea and they got all that money, he became a Chelsea fan. Anytime United played Liverpool, he was a United fan. He didn't really care about football. You know, he was in his 40s, mid 40s by the time we moved there. And so was he about to adopt a whole new sport? Like, you know, he's a lifelong Miami Dolphins fan and Miami Hurricanes fan. He likes American football, and that's pretty much it. Was he about to pick up a whole new sport? He was interested in it because I was interested in it, but he, other than playing contrarian and winding me up and trying to evoke those emotions out of me, he didn't really care as much.
Sure.
He just did it to be like a good dad, you know, and take your son to the football match, you know.
Dude, I love that. I love me a good father-son moment. That's why I'm curious about it. But yeah, you man, it's amazing, and it's like it's not that hard to to try to do the things that other people in your life enjoy doing, and like doing it for them, not just for yourself. You know what I mean? So I love that. I love that. So you're still in England. How long did you live there? And, you know, what made you, and then what happens afterwards when you come back to the States?
So lived in England 4 years, 9 to 13, 4th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade. We were supposed to stay 5 years. It would have been a permanent move, but my dad had it in his head that he wanted me to have like the American high school experience, like prom, homecoming, high school football, et cetera, et cetera.
Sure.
So before we moved there, the terms of his contract were no more than 5 years. And then we came back. I think by the end of that, he was like, damn, we kind of should have just made this permanent, because we were fairly comfortable over there and like well adapted, and like, you know, some aspects. Like, I'm from St. Pete, Florida, born and raised for the most part, except those 4 years. But when I go back to England, it very much feels like home.
Sure.
Because 9 to 13, very formative years of a person's life.
You probably got your first boner. Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. No, absolutely got my first boner in England. That's a different origin story, though. But so did 4 years over there. You know, of course, at school, it's banter because, you know, kids are an Arsenal fan. There's kids that are United fans. There's kids that are Fulham fans. You know, like there's Chelsea fans in and among us, older kids, younger kids. And so, yeah, like it was like a proper, like growing up in a football country experience. I mean, one of my favorite footballing memories that's non-Liverpool is my first World Cup, proper World Cup.
Right.
I watched soccer when I was in America, like as a kid, but it was kind of like an afterthought. Like, I think we put the World Cup final in '98 on for like 20 minutes just to see who won. We weren't really that into it other than me playing. We went to a couple mutiny games, but like, you know, it wasn't something I was passionate about. But so like in 2002, when I'm living there and the US is in the World Cup and they've actually pulled a couple upsets.
Yeah.
The school I was at,
quarterfinal, right?
Yeah, and we shouldn't have lost. Germany had a handball on the line, and I'll never live it down because Germany ended up going to the final. I think they played like either South Korea or Turkey in the semis. We could have beat them. But anyways, I'm sad for people who've never experienced a World Cup in a football mad country, because it really is like this otherworldly event.
Yeah.
Like everyone's into it. And especially like being at this international school where it wasn't just like, oh, the English national team or like, oh, the American. It was like, oh no, we got Turkish kids, we got Korean kids, we got Japanese kids, like everyone's invested. So what they actually let you do is they set up the gym with a couple of TVs or whatever. And if your nation was playing, you actually got to skip class and like just go watch the game. And then if England was playing, the whole school would go into the gym and watch the England match, which is just like, which is just like a different experience. And like as a kid, it's really cool. Like,
Oh yeah, I mean, hello. I mean, that's the equivalent to like a hurricane day in Florida, right?
yeah. So like I
Getting
had
the
a
day off.
Portuguese teacher, like a teacher from Portugal. And
Right.
when we beat them, it was just like nonstop. Like, oh, we lost to shit USA. The Yankees done it again. Luis Figo's not that good. 21-year-old Landon Donovan's the GOAT. You know, all that sort of banter stuff. And it was like it's a different experience, like living in a football mad country, and getting And then when like England would go to the Euros, the whole country shuts down. And yeah, it was cool. So like 4 years in England, soaking it all up, reading it in the paper every day, playing, you know, for the local club, playing for my school, and then back to America, because the terms were up.
Yeah, where I imagine you would have experienced like a culture shock. I mean, you would have talked to like Jimmy and John during lunch period and been like, "Yo, did you see the latest Champions League game?" And they're probably asking, "What the hell is the Champions League?"
So like,
how
yeah,
did that all work out?
I come back directly to the same school, same neighborhood. We kept our house that we had when we moved. We just rented it out.
Sure.
So like just back to, you know, same old in St. Pete. Obviously, you know, a bit of celebrity, Jordan, the international globetrotting extraordinaire, coming back to his little private school in St. Pete. Like, oh my gosh, all the ladies all up on me, like back up. But yeah, I mean, basically I am the reason most of my friends that I grew up with and went to school with are now interested in the Premier League. And I'm also a large reason why they all cheer for other teams other than Liverpool, because if you ever met me, I am obnoxiously for Liverpool. So if you're a Liverpool fan, you love me. And if you're not, you can't stand me.
Yeah, that's probably a good way to describe it. Yeah, I can see that for sure.
But the first year back was the run to Istanbul. And
right.
Like at that point in time, ESPN would have like one game per match day on TV. And obviously Liverpool happened to be one of those. But the games kick off at 2:45. School gets out at 3. We don't get home to 3:30. So your boy had a lot of dentist appointments, is what I'm saying. Because I don't imagine you could explain to someone like why you would do that for your child unless you're like, no, you don't understand. Like, it's like a football sickness and illness. If he doesn't get to watch the game, he might have an emotional breakdown. And so like during the run, obviously the further we got, I'd bring my scarf to school. We had uniforms, so I wasn't allowed to wear kits and stuff, but I'd bring my scarf to school and like, you know, tie it to my backpack or whatever. And of course, you know, the more that I would do that, my friends would get interested. I had an English teacher who was our middle school soccer coach who was actually into football, and he knew like, okay, I know what's going on. I know the Champions League. He understood why I was so excited. And like via that, my other friends got into it. I also it just so happens, I had a friend that moved from England to our school in the 3rd grade or the 2nd grade. I can't remember which. And then I did the opposite and left to England and came back. So he knew about football as well a little bit, but he didn't get to live those key ages in a football mad country. So it's funny. He's more into American football than me, and I'm more into, you know, the football than he is.
Wow. Okay.
But through that year, we're building up. I'm more and more obnoxious because Liverpool are doing the, you know, seemingly impossible with this new manager. And of course, deep inside, I'm like, why is this year we moved back to England? I'm not back home in England to remind all my friends and give them the banter now that we're finally about to, you know, do the big one.
Yeah, sure.
And then I just remember the Chelsea match because my mom was like, no, I can't pull you out of school. I've done it too many times. You're just going to have to wait till we get home. And I'm sat in homeroom with my scarf just wadded up, and it's with that teacher who's, you know, the soccer fan. So he's like, you know what, last 15 minutes of class, or, you know, rather than, you know, teaching, I'm just going to pull up, because there was no streaming the game. If you didn't have the cable television ESPN package, you weren't watching the game.
Yeah, for sure.
So he's like, I'm going to pull up the ESPN play-by-play online or whatever. And I remember just like sweating it, just sitting there staring. All my friends are having like dumb conversations, and I'm just staring at him. I'm like, any update? What's happening? He's like, it hasn't even kicked off, Jordan. It hasn't even kicked off yet. Don't worry. Okay, I'll let you know. And he was a bit of a jokester. So when the Luis Garcia goal happens, he goes, goal! And I'm like, 4? And he goes, Liverpool. And I'm like, nah, you're fucking kidding, right? Like, Chelsea's going to smash us, you know? To be fair, at that time, Chelsea was a lot better than us. Sure. We shouldn't have even been in the semis. And he's like, no, I'm not joking. Luis Garcia. And I just get up and start running around the classroom and just, yeah, like, you know, giving it the big one. And all my friends are like, what the hell? My mom couldn't get there, you know, as soon as I wanted her to get back, stuck to the couch, just sweating it, you know, and then get to the final, win the final. And I decided, I was like, you know what? Nah, we've done the big one. Broke the uniform rule, got a detention, wore full kit, had the scarf wrapped around my head all day. I was just walking into class, and every class I walked into, the teacher's like, that's a demerit. You know that, right? And I'm like, give it to me. I don't care. But that moment is definitely when all my friends were like, okay, enough of this. We got to figure out who else we're going to cheer for because Jordan is just out of control. Right. And yeah, it was just unfortunate that I wasn't around all my footballing friends to really rub it in because I had no one to really rub it into. It was just me all on my own in the abyss.
Just going to the pub, watching the games.
Okay.
You know, it gave me you know, something to hold on to. I mean, you know, for me being from New York, I'm a Met fan, I'm a Giant fan, I'm a Knick fan, I'm an Islander fan. But I'm not from England. I don't have a hometown. So I just felt from watching Robbie Fowler and following him and you know, just absorbing any information that I could get in the States before, you know, the internet was what the internet is now.
Right.
You know, I once I got that, I held on to it. I got, you know, I had friends that were living in England, you know, before I moved there. I was having them send me jerseys, send me this, send me magazines, send me, because I need to consume. I want to consume.
Yeah, it was just you on your island. I guess it's not as fun. I mean, it's much like 2020. This year has been of us being on our little island, not giving the others the business because, you know, we won the league title. No, for sure. I would have loved to like get a dumb parade going and stuff, but we can't do that. So yeah, unfortunately that sounds just like that, huh?
I'm sorry, before we move away from the Champions League, I do have to tell the Champions League story in honor of my late grandmother.
Okay.
For the final for AC Milan. I'm settling in to watch this final. I had my mom pull me out of school at like 1:30 so I could do
this is the final. This is the day of the final. Okay.
Yeah. I've had my mom pull me out of school early so I can do like all the ceremonial stuff I need to pre-kickoff, hang the flag over the back of the couch, put the scarf over here, put on this football kit. And then the power goes out about 30 minutes before kickoff and it's not coming back on. And I'm just looking at my mom, and she's like, what do you want me to do, Jordan? I checked the breaker. It's not the breaker. The power's just out, okay?
Mom, drive me to the bar. Beef or break.
So I call my grandma. I'm like, Grandma, what are you doing? She's like, I'm watching tennis. No power.
How'd you call her?
Oh, she was living in a different neighborhood. Like, we were in Clearwater. She was in Largo, right?
But how'd you call her if the power was out?
There was early cell phones at that point in time.
Oh, right.
Sure. Or at least like those house phones that charge themselves on the little sitter thing handheld or whatever.
Or it could have just been one breaker or something. Yeah, anyway, go on. Sorry.
But anyways, call Grandma. Grandma, can I come over and watch the match, please? What are you doing? She's like, I'm watching tennis. I'm like, no, we're watching Liverpool. She's like, okay, you know, good grandma vibes. Yeah, whatever you need, grandson.
Yeah, grandmas are always there for you. Yeah, for sure.
So my mom drives me over there. She's like, look, I don't want to sit at grandma's house for 2 hours, so I'm going to go run some errands. Call me when it's done. And so it's me and my grandma who knows nothing about European soccer, nothing about English soccer, only knows that Liverpool is where the Beatles are from. She knows like I'm a Liverpool fan, but she doesn't know what that means. So I'm sitting there like watching the pre-match festivities. They're walking out. And my grandma's like, so what is this? And I'm like, it's basically like the European Championship, Grandma. She's like, oh, who's playing? I'm like, Liverpool, my team, and AC Milan from Italy. And she just goes, those Italians, I think they're pretty good at soccer. And then she's sitting with me and she knows my team's in red and the first goal goes in a minute and she's just like, wow, that was fast. And I'm like, no shit, Grandma, shut the fuck up, we're gonna beat you up right now. The second goal goes in, she's like, oh no, that's not good. I'm like, Grandma, Leave me alone. Third goal goes in. I'm depressed. She's like, I'm sorry. Maybe next time. And I'm like, you don't understand. We finished fifth. There probably isn't a next time. Like, we have to do this now or it may never happen in my life again, Grandma. Like, chill out. So I go into her toilet and I sit on the toilet and I begin to become religious again. And I'm just sitting there like, God, if you're up there, just give me this one. And then I'm all aboard with the whatever religion you want me to be on, man. I'm all aboard. Just give me this one. The comeback happens, elation. Yeah, school the next day, fully kitted out. I wrote an article for the school newspaper because they're like, what in the hell is this about?
That's hilarious.
Yeah, but I just had to share that for my late grandmother because, no worse environment to watch the greatest final ever than with your grandma winding you up for 45 minutes.
Oh man, that's funny. Yeah, no, I love a story like that as well. Good family vibes. That's great. All right, so we're in high school now.
That's 8th grade. So yeah, high school. It just continues.
It just continues, right? But again, you don't really have people to wind you up or anything like that. Some of your friends are fans of other clubs now because of you.
Yeah.
And then now we come to an era where post 2006 World Cup is really, at least in my opinion, is when football starts to be on TV in the United States a bit more.
Yeah.
We have the Fox Soccer channel and so on. They get a bit more access. So I imagine it could have only have grown to the level of which it was when you were a child, right?
So this is where I start to intersect with LFC Tampa Bay, or LFC Tampa as it was called at the time.
Oh, while you were in high school. Okay. So
yeah,
give us a history lesson. What's going on?
So, obviously, like you said, it was hard to find soccer matches on television. And this kid that I went to school with, who was a Chelsea fan, he was a younger kid. He mentioned to me one time, he's like, hey, by the way, there's this bar in Tampa where all these Liverpool fans watch matches and they get the matches that aren't on like cable or whatever. And I was like, oh, where's that at? And he's like, it's McDitton's in Soho. And I was like, okay. Told my dad and my mom about it. I was like, hey, this weekend we play this team. It's not on TV. Can we go check it out? I remember my parents trying to explain to like the bouncer and the bartender who were like, this is like a child. He's not supposed to be in here. Being like, he just wants to watch the fucking soccer game and you're the only one that have it. He's not going to drink. We're here with him. We're not going to let him drink, like just let him be or whatever. And like, I have memories of like early Mark, like being there. And like, I remember seeing David and like Declan and Attila, this guy, Chris, like, a couple of the people are still part of it or whatever. I remember seeing them. I don't know if they took much notice of me because I was like the 14-year-old kid in the fucking corner, just like getting into it. When I remember being like 15 and having my mom drive me there with my sister and her friends, and we lost to Chelsea in the quarterfinal of the Champions League, and being so upset and getting Declan to sing "Fuck Off Chelsea FC" with me. And then Mark comes over and goes, no, we don't do that. No, stop. Don't be so petty. No, stop. They beat us. Don't stop. And I'm like, no, we're going to sing this chant. And I'm sure he's like, who the fuck is this child trying to wind up the bar and get them all, like, to want to fight each other? Jesus, calm down.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had to go to the LFC Tampa bar because it was the only place that I could reliably get the football. I remember watching old Satanta Sports, if people remember, shitty streams on projectors, it's stopping and starting and stuff like that. And yeah, that was my one reliable place, if it wasn't on Fox Soccer, to go. And when I finally got a license, I would drive my happy ass over there. And like, I would always explain to the bartenders, like, you know me, come on, you remember me. I'm not going to drink. If you want to write X's on my hand or whatever, I'm just here to have, watch the football. And yeah, I would go there quite often, like big games, like Manchester United, the 4-1. I remember watching the 4-1 at McDitton's with LFC Tampa in 2008-09 season. And yeah, because it was like the place to get the football experience, or as close as you could possibly, people singing the songs in the same room, getting into it, jumping up on the little mini stage in the corner when we scored and giving it the big one.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
So because, like you said, it wasn't on TV, I had to find it somewhere, and LFC Tampa is where I found it. Yeah,
fantastic. And LFC Tampa has now been rebranded to the OLSC Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
And I imagine you're still doing that.
Yeah. Still a member. It was part of helping set up the St. Pete branch and all that. Obviously when I went to school in Miami, I wasn't going quite as frequently.
Yeah, you're not going to make a 4-hour drive for one game.
No. But at that point, like the streaming was a lot more reliable.
Sure.
So like, you know, I was like streaming matches in class and all that. And then when I came back and like I've firmly settled here, became a more active member. There was a run of 2 or 3 seasons where I didn't like miss a single match, going to every match at Fort Greene Fields and then going to every match at Pokies for like 2.5 seasons until the drive over the bridge became too much. And that's when we set up the St. Pete branch. But yeah, I have a lot of memories too of like being at like Fort Greene Fields, McDitton's, Pokies, obviously, London Heights a couple times, the finals, stuff like that. I have grown with the club, so to speak.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, so in that time, can you give me like a sense of maybe your, you know, one of your fond memories? Obviously, you know, it's hard to pick one, but just anything that comes to mind, or
like the run in high school, like by the time we were in high school, my friends have all like solidified being Man United fans, Chelsea fans. You know, I'm in a miserable state most of the time. I just desperately hoping that we're finally going to win the league so I can finally give it back to them. Of course, that didn't happen during that time. But yeah, like, you know, I just remember like coming into school after the 4-1 and all my American friends trying to act like they didn't really care about football anymore. Like, yeah, it's just soccer, man. Like, we don't care. We just, you know, we're just United fans to wind you up. Funny enough, none of them will text me back now after we've won the league. It's a little weird, but that's a discussion for a different time. But yeah, like the 4-1 in McDitton's was awesome. I remember the when we beat Man United 2-1 in the FA Cup after Luis Suarez got banned for being a little bit racist.
Yeah.
That was the same day as Gasparilla, and the match was on at 7:30. And I had a friend in town who had actually gone to one of his first match at Anfield for his birthday with me and a bunch of friends. He was actually in town for Gasparilla, so he met us at the pub at 7:30. With my other friend down here. We got pissed drunk by 9:30. We went to the Publix down the corner, got a handle of liquor, and sat at the Starbucks with a 2-liter of Coke, Starbucks cups, and the liter hidden, and just kept pouring it in. And just by the time the parade happened, we were fully lit. I ended up losing one of my Liverpool kits because I was just going full at it because we beat Man United.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Yeah, it's hard to pick out one. I mean, down in Miami, the one big memory I have is being in this massive lecture hall. It's Luis Suarez's debut game, and I have a psychology lecture with about like 250 kids. And I'm sat in the back with the stream up. Luis Suarez comes on. Luis Suarez scores his goal, and I jump up and go, "Get in!" And everyone in that classroom turns and looks at me, and the teacher's just like, shaking her head, and I just picked my stuff up and I walked right on out, and I dropped that class about 30 minutes later.
Oh man, I hope you dropped it in the drop window. That's cool.
No, it's definitely after the drop window.
Oh damn. Didn't get the money back. Damn it.
Oh, but you know, like during that time, my best friend, I got him into football. He was a City fan. I remember Andy Carroll scoring those 2 goals against City, and the look of despair on his face when that happened. Just, you know, beating people with terrible Liverpool teams on FIFA 12, like, you know, it was part of my identity at that point. It was like, I am a Liverpool supporter, by the way, like, you know,
right.
And so it was inescapable for my friends not to discuss Liverpool or at least be aware of what was going on. But those were the Roy Hodgson days.
Oh my God.
I remember when Torres was sold, and I had his kit, and I cut the badge off, and I went to the parking lot of the football stadium and burned his jersey while my friends watched me and were like,
"Wow, you're one of those, man." Damn, that's harsh.
It was a really nice kit too. It was the black one with like the gold lettering on the back. Yeah. Cut the badge off, burnt it. It just said, "See you later."
God.
Yeah, my friends were definitely like, okay. And there was a couple of girls I were talking to at that point that was like, I don't know if I'm going to text this guy back ever again.
Yeah, that's a bit dark, man. I mean, I don't even know how to feel about that. That's really dark.
But yeah, I mean, like, you know, it's the real passion I have. So like, I had to give it all.
But that real passion in Miami, you went to school in Miami, right?
Yeah.
So was there, like an LFC Tampa Bay, but obviously maybe an LFC Miami group there?
At that point, it was up in Fort Lauderdale, so it wasn't worth the drive. But also the other thing is that, like, you know, Miami's very Latin. And so, like, you know, Latinos like football. And so we were all watching Champions League matches together as like a friend group. They were into it. They had their teams. You know, we'd watch big Premier League matches together. I remember watching the Manchester derby where Rooney put in that the ridiculous bicycle kick. And, you know, that allowed me kind of to like appreciate more than just Liverpool. Because to be honest, like at that point I was, you know, and still kind of to this day, like really only solely focused on Liverpool and football. But like, you know, like it was like living in England where like you had other people of other teams around you. So you had to pay attention.
Right.
So I got a more appreciation. Plus Liverpool wasn't in the Champions League. So watching the Champions League didn't have any emotional consequence to it. It was just like a pastime.
Yeah. Like
made a hobby of it, you know, of consuming soccer together. So I didn't need to go like find a community of soccer watchers because I had it there in my friend group.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah, for sure. So you're in Tampa. Okay. So yeah. So what's next?
So after that, moved back, and that's when I got more involved as being a member with LFC Tampa, going to all the matches, kind of introducing myself. I used to be fairly quiet at the pubs. You can ask Mark and David. I used to like sneak into the back of Four Green Fields and sit in the very back, and like I would, you know, let out a yell and I would sing songs with everyone if they wanted to. But as I got more and more comfortable and showed up a little bit more higher each time and like gave less of a fuck, I was like, actually, let's just let this go. And so by the time we got to Pokies, I was basically, I was like the chant leader, I guess you would say. I was tasked with like starting all the chants and then also abusing any rival fans that walked in until they wanted to leave.
Oh man, that's harsh.
No, I know, but the good thing was at that point, like Pokies was owned by Rachel and Mark. So like, you know, an Arsenal season ticket holder, a British woman, they know the football. And they actually appreciated me doing that. Like they weren't like, how dare you chase off business? They were like, yeah, go on, lad, you tell them. So, you know, it wasn't done out of appreciation, at least. I'm sure the people that walked in didn't enjoy it. Like I remember one time, like a random United fan just came in to check it out, and I just chanted, "Oh, Manchester is full of shit," until he left. Which, you know, isn't the nicest thing to do, but do we really want to have to be nice and hang out with Manchester United fans? I don't know, you know?
Yeah, probably not. Yeah. I mean, no.
The 13-14 final run at Fort Green Fields is amazing because that was the first time, like, as an LFC Tampa member where we were starting to get crowds, like 80, 90 people for a match day. Wow. And you actually had atmosphere in there. I remember the 3-2 against City. It was like, you know, man, that game, the first goal goes in, everyone explodes in Fort Green Fields. The second goal goes in, we're 2-0 up. Everyone's like, this might be it. Then they equalize, and it's really tense inside there. Like, everyone's sweating it. Everyone's worried. And then Coutinho scores the winner. And the place goes wild. Full time goes. I get on stage, start singing "We're Gonna Win the League," which then obviously soured very quickly and was the reason why a lot of people didn't like me singing "We're Gonna Win the League" in any seasons after that.
Oh wow! I can hear Mark now. Don't sing it. Don't sing it.
Well, for instance, when we lost the Europa League final, everyone was pretty down in there. And I decided that we were going to start singing, "We're going to win the league. We're going to win the league." And that's the closest Mark's actually ever gotten to physically harming me. He had to be held back a little. And eventually I walked over. He was so mad. I walked over there. I just put my arm around him. And I just started lightly singing in his ear, "When you walk," and then built it up through a storm. He's like, "Get off me. Get off me. No, get off me. Hold your head up." And we just break out into "You'll Never Walk Alone," and we're all good again, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. That's what. No, I mean, part of me would be that Mark would be that version of Mark, but then, yeah, I mean, I love that.
Yeah,
because cheeky. that song brings everyone together for sure. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
I mean, if that's not one of the reasons why you love this club, then I don't know what you're doing with your life.
But so during that run is when I had my daughter. Was during the end of the 13-14. And I really thought it was going to happen because I was like, oh, I'll have a daughter and then we'll just win the league every year and she'll never know what struggling is like, you know?
All right.
And so, like, you know, getting her all the little kits, like making that part, like, you know, the first thing I did when she was born was wrap her in a Liverpool scarf. I had the photos back there somewhere. If I could grab it quick, I would. But, you know, wrapped her in a Liverpool scarf, wearing a Liverpool shirt when she was born. You know, just rubbing her face into the crest, like, eat that up.
Just get a birthmark. Yeah.
When I was, one of the membership items they gave to you when you signed up with like Liverpool, the club proper, was like this towel thing. And I put that in her crib, and that's what she slept on. And yeah, I mean, and that point on, like kind of getting her into it, you know, has been a part of it, and good memories doing that. My best friend, who was a City fan, was a Mario Balotelli fan mainly, and he became a Liverpool fan when they joined up. And so, you know, that growing that relationship even more via Liverpool and like talking about that. The Dortmund comeback, like specifically mentioning my friend Cody, my best friend Cody. I remember when we're down 2-0, he's like, "This is shit." And I'm just texting him. Like, you never know. And I'm sitting next to Matt at the bar, and Tom. And I'm just like, you know, it's a European night at Anfield. Anything can happen. And we get 2-1, then it's 3-1. And my friend's texting me. I'm like, you know, you just don't know until you have your first Anfield comeback what it really feels like and looks like. So you never know, man. And like, you know, getting to kind of share that with him and like, you know, help like bringing him into that existence of like understanding the magic of Anfield, just like being in that bar with everyone so depressed at 3-1. And then at the end, 4-3. Tom had it in his head when he waved his flag that we scored goals. So he's just waving his flag for like 13 minutes at a time. And then the goal goes in and he's waving it even faster. Like, oh, it's working.
I love that illogicalness that people bring about. Like, yeah, I'm the same way. Or I had a friend that like he could only eat chips with his left hand. If he did it with his right, we would lose in his mind, you know, that kind of stuff. So yeah, no, I love that. So with your daughter, though, I'm interested to know, you know, what, she's like 6 now, 7?
Yeah, 6'6".
Okay, so, you know, obviously she's full on Liverpool. She has no choice, I would imagine, right?
Yeah. She doesn't even like understand anything other than like Liverpool, like existing as a football club. She doesn't even know that other football clubs other than the Rowdies even exist. Like, I've done a very good job of, you know, indoctrinating her in her early years. She doesn't have a choice. She has so many Liverpool kids that she can't turn back. Like, there's no going back at this point. And like, the good thing is like, there's so many of these websites now where you can buy older kits. It's like, you know, she doesn't always want to wear red. So I just ask her, what color kit do you want this year? And I go on the website and I find like a throwback Liverpool kit, and there it is. And then she's ecstatic because now she's got a purple Mo Salah. She's got a yellow one from the 90s. She's got one of the cream ones from the Robbie Fowler Spice Boys. She's got, you know, the red one. She's got the black keeper kit. And so.
Right.
Yeah,
and but are you teaching her the game? Are you teaching her tactics? Do we have a homeschooling Jordan tactics with Jordan 30-minute session? What's going on?
Listen, yeah, absolutely. I mean, her ability to sit and watch a full football match isn't there yet.
Okay.
But like, you know, like when we go to Rowdy's games, we'll sit up at the back and I'll ask her questions and be like, do you notice how the players are all spread out? Yes. Like, you notice how when the ball's over there, there's all this space over here? Yes. Do you notice this and that? Yes. Whatever, you know. Favorite player's Mo Salah. She knows all the Liverpool songs. She knew You'll Never Walk Alone when she was 2.5. Like, I just played it until she memorized it.
My God.
Yeah. So funny about songs. She knows Ale Ale Ale, but obviously there's a huge issue with Ale 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 where they say we won the fucking lot. And you can't really have like a 4-year-old singing that just in case they're in preschool humming it and they're looking at their friends. We won the fucking lot. But so I would play her the acapella and taught her the lyrics with the acapella or the instrumental version. And we won the bloody lot because bloody's not as like a curse word here like it is over there.
Yeah, in America, no one.
But like maybe like 3 or 4 months ago, I'm playing the Jamie Webster version, and usually she sings over the top of the fucking part and says bloody, but I caught her going, we won the fucking lot. And I was like, well, I don't know what to do here because like she's singing the song and I don't want her to think it's a bad song to sing. But at the same time, I was just like, hey, Mia, we're not singing that song at school, are we? She's like, no. I'm like, okay, good. Let's not do that.
It's like a dad dilemma. Like, what do I do? Oh, man.
But yeah, so like Mo's her favorite player. And the funny thing is when we sing the Bobby song, there's something that the cop wants you to know. The best in the world is Bobby Firmino. She'll go, no, it's actually Mo. Like every time we sing that launch, I go, no, it's Mo Salah because he's the king. So, but she's all aboard, man. I wasn't gonna have it any other way.
That's awesome, man. And then I imagine her mother's all on board for this as well. Like
she's not as into football as me.
Sure, but
neither
she's
is
okay with her
family.
daughter being, having 35 kits in her closet.
I think at some point you just have to accept it is what it is, and like it's not going to change.
Fair enough.
But no, so like I'll give you this one like memory of my daughter watching a match. Barcelona second leg. So
oh man, what a game.
It's on Tuesday. And the thing about that year on Tuesdays was my daughter had an after school art class that went till 4, which means I had to pick her up at 4. Now, if you're doing the math in your head, that's the start of the second half kickoff, basically. So my routine was to watch the first 35 minutes on Tuesday Champions League matches, then go pick her up at school, then come back to the pub and watch like the last 35 minutes. And so that morning I had her wear her Liverpool kit because we got to collect all the good vibes as we can because we had to do a miracle. And I remember telling her because we went to the Rowdies game that weekend and the Rowdies, I think, won 4-0. And
Again,
and then the drive over.
Signs, man.
I know, man. The omens are everywhere.
You're like a damn ancient Egyptian high priest. Like, what the hell is this?
Don't ask me about the lottery numbers, though. I have no idea. So I'm telling her, like, explaining to her, because, she's 4, maybe almost 5 at that point. She might be 5. So, like, understanding of concepts like winners and losers, like explaining aggregate to a 5-year-old is really hard.
Yeah. Yeah,
so I'm just telling her, like, we probably need to win 4-0. If Liverpool wins 4-0, then we'll be good. When I pick you up at halftime, I'll let you know what the score is. So I pick her up, and she's like, "What's the score?" I'm like, "It's 1-0." She's like, "Oh, they only need 3 more." I'm like, "You smart cookie, you're very right." And so I take my phone, and I put the game on my phone to stream, and I give it to her, and I just tell her, "Watch this, and if there's a goal, just let me know." So we're
How long are we driving here? How long are we driving?
So this is like a 25 minute drive.
Oh, damn it.
So by the time I get to the pub, it's 3-0, right? But in the back, she goes, "It's a goal." I'm like, "For who? Don't just say it's a goal for who?" She's like, "Liverpool." I'm like, "Are you sure?" Like, did the red guys score or was it the yellow guys? She's like, "No, the red guys, number 5. It says 2-0 now." I'm going, "Oh my God, Mia, this might happen. You don't know. It might happen. Hold your breath." And then she's like, "Oh, they scored again." Cause the time between Jeannie's first and second goal was basically a VAR review. And then they kicked off and it was a second goal.
Yeah.
They scored again. I'm like, "Are you sure it's not just a replay?" And she's like, "No, this time it was with his head." And I was like, "Okay." And she's like, "It was number 5 again. It says 3-0. Now I'm losing it. I'm getting all like worked up, maybe driving a little faster to get to the pub.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Speeding a little bit, running a red light here and there.
We get to the pub around like the 69th, 70th minute maybe. Come in, and the ceiling of the pub is drenched because the owner, Lee, was watching with his friends with us and had gotten so excited that he had thrown his beer onto the ceiling. And I remembered when Divock scored, I had grabbed him and like pulled him close and whispered in his ear, "We're going to fucking do this." And yeah, come back and he's all going crazy. She's into it because the energy in the place is all focused on and it's all exciting. The corner goes in, and at the end of the match, I just, I'm there. My daughter stood on a stool. She's got a scarf. She's waving it, right. And I'm just like looking at her and I'm like, "You have no idea." And I'm like, like getting this proud father moment. Like, this is our first like magical Liverpool moment together, and it's never going to get better than this. And I'm looking at her. I'm like, "You better remember this, man, because like it won't be any better than this ever. And like, this is incredible. And I hope you remember this moment." Well, sure she will. And I have a cool story with my daughter commentating the epic comeback of Barcelona in the backseat as a 5-year-old.
"Hey, Daddy, I'll go with it."
Exactly, basically. So the next step, obviously, with her is to get her over there, right? And continue the father-child like lineage,
right. So obviously, after COVID, is that kind of the next step for you?
The plan was to take her for the parade because,
right, yeah,
it's about giving her like those incredible experiences, like I got like sitting at the Kop, that like really fortifies it and like makes you hungry for more. And that was going to be the greatest thing ever in the history of being a Liverpool fan.
Yeah, for sure.
The parade after winning the title for the first time in 30 years. That team that was so incredible. Like it wasn't going to get better than that. So the plan was to take her for the parade because I don't know so much about like, you know, wandering around a match day. Is she really going to sit and watch the match? Is it really, you know, worth it as much to take her to a match? Or let's go to a parade where everyone's singing, putting off flares. There's a shiny trophy on a bus, and you get to wave at the players, you know?
Dude, I would just say, like, you're already making me nervous. Like, just don't lose her, man. Like, don't lose her around here. I'll get, like, as you're telling me this, I'm imagining it. I'm like, oh, my gosh, she's going to get lost. If she's anything like me as a kid. You know, I got lost. My parents lost me in Disney World multiple times. You know what I mean?
Same, dude. I got lost in Disney World, and I never left my parents' side again.
Yeah, so obviously that's the next step for you then with
Yeah.
your daughter. Yeah, awesome, man. I hope that happens for you because obviously not this season, unfortunately, I don't think, but maybe next season. Hopefully we're still as boss as we are. After the Aston Villa defeat. Who knows what's gonna happen.
Well, like, you know, I take her to Rowdy's games and like she gets a little bit of experience of the atmosphere. Like she sings the song, she jumps up and down, but then for the most part, she's off on the hill over there, like rolling up and down. And so like she's had a slight experience of what it's like to be, you know, at a football game, but she needs to have the whole experience and see what it's really like.
Right. So that brings me to ask you like about fandom, right? Because I mean, and it's, you know, obviously I think you're doing it the right way with your daughter, but you know, for a lot of people, you know, for example, I'm trying to convert my cousin into being a football fan. He only likes the NFL, and I'm trying my hardest to get him to, you know, cross that bridge, so to speak. And the one thing I tried to tell him is that the fandom experience of being a football player or a football supporter and a Liverpool supporter is unlike anything you could see in this country, right? And I always say that like the closest thing is college American football, right? And I just want to know your perspective on like how do we convert people to how do we get people to experience that here while we're here? Because, you know, given that it's COVID, right? But also like most people maybe don't have the funds or the time or et cetera, the opportunity to go to Anfield and experience that. You know, I've been lucky myself. I've been to games in England. I went to Liverpool match. I've been to Real Madrid match on vacation. I've been to games in Poland. I was in Berlin for the World Cup final when Germany won against Messi. You know, I've had those experiences, right? So, like, I get it, but, like, not everyone has that opportunity. So my question to you is kind of, you know, in the context of Liverpool and maybe in the context of, you know, the members we have here in Tampa or the group of fans that we have here in Tampa, how can we, you know, bring that here and expose that more to, you know, Americans? Yeah,
I mean, it is like, you know, the football is the 11 guys on the pitch kicking the ball around and putting it in the net. But, you know, like I've just sat here and I've talked to you about like my history of watching with people that I watch with. And, you know, there's some people have this like elitist mentality that like the only place you can get that experience is by going to the stadium. And there's definitely a whole different spiritual experience by going to Anfield.
Sure.
But at the same time, you know, it's more about like those relationships and the sense of community. And like, you know, like I have a whole group of friends that the only thing we do is watch Liverpool and talk about it together. We have no other intersecting areas of our life yet. But that's where we commune. And I think, you know, obviously like big events like the final we had, which obviously is a massive highlight, putting that on and getting it together and like having all those Liverpool fans show up and like really giving people that like experience was fulfilling in a sense. Yeah, but if you give them like little tastes of that, because they don't really know yet. Like we've talked about this, like American football fans really don't know that what they want is to be in a packed bar with 300 people watching the same match, going through the emotions, sweating it out, you know, being uncomfortable, singing songs. And really to make that happen is you just show up and get into it. And slowly, sure enough, you look back and it's been 8 years and you've been next to the same people during that whole time. And, you know, you have like this sense of family, especially as being like a Liverpool supporter. You know, you travel the world and you got your kid on and some random stranger comes up to you and you strike up a conversation over Liverpool Football Club. And now you have, you know, a new friend that you'll never see again, but, you know, you've made that connection.
Yeah, that literal story happened to me in Rome.
Yeah, I mean, it happens to me all the time. I went to a 420 festival in Colorado, and I'm in the tent waiting to get a little drink of water because my mouth's a little cottony for some strange reason. And there's a guy there in a Liverpool top, and we just look at each other, and I look at my friend who's a Liverpool fan, and we just start singing "Ole, ole, ole," and everyone else is looking at us like, "What the hell?" We didn't say anything else to each other. We walked away, and me and my friend were like, "I really like that guy. He was pretty cool. We should have said what's up."
Yeah, he got his digits.
Yeah, he seemed like a decent dude, you know? But then, like, you know, you go to, like, you travel around the country, you go to the different OLSCs and, like, experience that. Like, you know, I have my Baltimore scarf over here.
Right.
That game was when we beat Chelsea 3-1, Jurgen Klopp's first away day at Chelsea with Benteke and Coutinho scoring. But, yeah, it's just, you know, it's really our duty as fans as we get older and get more into the club to like provide those experiences and like show people the way, because in this country it's not football mad, it's not a community of football fans, so you can't really get it unless someone's gonna be like, hey man,
let's try to
show you the ropes, let me teach you about Shankly, let me, you know, you want me to tell you the words to this song, I will. Don't be afraid to sing. You know, my way of doing it is making such a jackass of myself that anyone else in the bar feels comfortable doing whatever it is that they do when they watch football, you know?
Right.
But yeah, I mean, growing that experience is really down to us as fans cultivating it and making sure that we spread it in the way that, you know, Liverpool fans would spread it anyways. You know, to go back, you know, before my dad passed away, we started making a point of going back to Liverpool to watch matches. And it started with going to the Man City Liverpool match where Jordan Henderson scored and then Philip Coutinho scored late, 2-1. Going to Wembley, but bumping into Scousers and like, you know, like my first match, like people went out of their way to welcome me into the community and like welcome me into being a Liverpool fan. You know, like I'm in the pub and I order a beer and like, oh, you're American. And then all of a sudden I'm swarmed by Scousers and all they want to know is why Liverpool. And then I tell them my story and I'm like, you know, as I grew older and my own personality formed, it kind of was in line with the ethos of the club. And the more I learned about the club and the city, the more it resonated with who I am as an individual. Yeah. And watching their faces beam when I tell them that, you know, they really, being a Liverpool fan is really trying to win the ideological war. It's really like saying there's no gatekeeping here. If you want to join us, come on and join us. But then once you're on board, we're going to teach you the proper way to do it.
Yeah. You have a way with words, Jordan. English is hard, man, but that was beautifully said. And also, obviously, sorry about your loss. That's devastating.
No, that's all right. Honestly, Liverpool was the thing that helped me get through that loss. And, you know, my dad wasn't a Liverpool supporter. He wasn't really a football fan, but I have plenty of Liverpool memories that, you know, tie in with my father, going to Anfield a couple more times before he passed away. I got to do the father-son Wembley trip, which I was really happy about in hindsight after he passed away. But yeah, like, you know, the Dortmund game was like right on the heels of my dad passing away. And like, you know, it's like a very strong symbolic gesture of like, even when your back's against the wall and it seems hopeless, like there is hope. And there was just that weird feeling sitting in the pub. My dad's just passed away. I'm recovering from ACL surgery and we're losing 3-1, but for some reason I still think we can do something here, you know? Right. But yeah, I mean, like, that's what football is, more than the results and the trophies and, you know, the good form, the bad form, the superstar players. It's those little memories and moments and experiences. I will never, every time I see that Coutinho goal, the 2-1 in the 77th minute, and he curls it around Joe Hart, the only thing I can see in my head is my dad's face. Because my dad, as I said, was a contrarian. He tried his best to never let me know that he was actually enjoying Liverpool's success in some way. Right. But he couldn't even help himself when that goal went in. We just had this moment where I looked at him and he had this look on his face of like, oh, like he couldn't believe it just happened. And yeah, like that's more important than all the other stuff. And that's really what being a Liverpool fan is about. And like, you'll never walk alone means something. And it is a family. And like, people like to say that all the time about organizations and groups and teams or whatever.
Like your job, we're a family at so-and-so insurance company. Yeah, no.
Like, you know, I look around the world and I see people, you know, promoting the fight for the justice for the 96 that weren't even Liverpool fans when it happened, and
or even born.
Yeah, still take it on. Like we have supporters clubs around the world that donate to the food banks in the city. That's like that community and having football be more than just a silly game, and like allowing you to it be like a vehicle for you to affect the world around you in a positive way. And you don't see that with a lot of other sports teams, and you don't even really see that with a lot of other football clubs. It's a rare thing.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. I mean, the ethos of this club is such that it makes it easier to do those positive things. I can't imagine Chelsea doing anything positive. Let's be honest, right?
There's hope for us all. There is hope for us all that we can turn the corner and be better people.
Sure. We have to make those choices, though.
Yeah, that is true.
But no, that's fantastically put, because as Klopp said, it is the most important of the least important things. And as you just said, okay, the results matter to an extent, blah blah blah. But in reality, it's the important things that matter. The relationships you build with people, those memories. Because at the end of the day, all we have is time, and we have a finite amount of that time. So the memories in those moments are really what matters, and not, as you said, the results or this player, that player, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, my most poignant example of that is, when lockdown happens, for the most part, you fall out of contact with all these people that you're seeing once, twice a week on a regular basis.
Yeah.
And so when the Bundesliga came back, I just sent out the text to everyone. I was like, why don't we just meet up at the Horse and Jockey and just watch football, just to watch football, even though it's not Liverpool. And a few of the people showed up. And one of the guys who's a regular at the Horse and Jockey, Lance, he had this compilation that Liverpool put out during that time of like the best goals of the decade. And the match is going on or whatever, but we wind up, all of us, just like watching the compilation. And after every goal, someone would turn and say, "Oh, you remember we were at this place, or we were here when that goal happened?" And then there was a story. Like, oh yeah, and then remember Mark was pissed drunk and he fell over, and blah blah blah. Declan wanted to punch that guy. Oh, it was funny. Oh, remember how shit we were then? Oh, it was funny. Oh yeah, we used to only get like 5 people in the pub to come watch with us. And that was, you have that, and you're like, see, that's really what we miss. Like, is those moments and those experiences. And the greatest part about it is really giving those experiences and those moments is really, it's just simple. You just show up and you be there and you cheer on the lads, and you just love your fellow Liverpool supporter, I guess, Yeah,
it's not hard. Just be nice to people, everyone. That's not hard.
No, just be nice to everyone who's a Liverpool fan. Everyone else can.
Yeah. You're sorry. You're right. I mean, City fans, Chelsea, whoever.
Yeah.
All right, we'll see. I mean, we play with an Arsenal supporter, myself and David, in a co-ed league. Yeah. And then when I showed up for the game on Sunday, because we play Sunday night, and I looked at him, I'm walking over, and he's warming up. I looked at him and I said, "Don't talk. I don't want to hear it.
Don't say anything.
Don't say anything. Not in the room. I'm not in the mood. Fuck around." Because I don't troll people or whatever, but I was thinking he would troll me, and I was like, in Spanish or something. I was like, "Hey, no." Like, all right, I got you, bro. And so I'm like, "Okay, you're nice. You get a Christmas card this year." Well, yeah, we could be nice to certain people and give them the business to other people, right? So but yeah, so fine. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
So so to kind of wrap this up, I mean, we're recording, as I said, during the international break after that abysmal defeat. Did that put a wrench in your predictions for the season, or your you think what the team will do, or what's going to happen?
You're still so much better than everyone. Like, that, like we said in the post pod, like breakdown, it was everything that could go wrong did. And that's not ever really going to happen again, where all the stars align for you to play your absolute shittest performance all across the park, basically, minus maybe 1 or 2 players. Right. So for me, looking at the league, it's actually hopeful. Like, we don't have to go and win 99 points again to win this league. I think this league is going to be maybe in the 90s, but if it is, it's the low 90s, and we still have an ability to do that. The team responds well to adversity, so I'm not worried about that as much. And hey, I was saying we were going to win the league when Roy Hodgson and fucking Stuart Downing and Charlie Adam were at the club. So why am I going to not say that still now? Like, why is that going to stop me? I'm a special breed, I guess, where I don't care if at the end of the season everyone's like, haha, you were wrong, you finished 7th. I just turn around and go, well, we're gonna fucking win it next year. I don't care what I said. I predicted we were gonna win the quadruple in January and go undefeated, and that didn't happen, and I still don't fucking care because we won the league, so like, yeah, exactly. It doesn't change anything. I think we're still better than mostly everyone. The key point to wait and see prediction shift is the City match that comes up in a few weeks. This team's capable. They're really good. They're the best Liverpool side I've ever seen. Been watching, 20 years. This is my 21st season as a Liverpool fan, so to speak. I've seen a lot of shit, and this is far better than anything I've ever seen. I mean, the 08-09 Rafa team, that was my, romanticizing about that team, like people do with the teams of the 70s and the 80s, the older fans.
Right.
But now, like, I can see and I can tell, like, no, this is it. This is the team I'm going to tell my kids about, my grandkids about. And my daughter's probably, when she gets old enough, be upset that she wasn't just a little bit older to really understand and appreciate what was going on.
Yeah, I know. What a shame.
So I'm not going to, shower them in any type of bad vibes because I trust the boys.
All right. Well, yeah. So it sounds like I should keep a level head and keep calm and carry on and not stress out so much. And
here's the thing. I've, 30-year wait for a league title.
Puts things in perspective, right?
I've waited my whole Liverpool supporter life to see that. I've seen them win everything else. My first year I saw them win the FA Cup, League Cup, UEFA Cup, right? Then, 5 years later they win the Champions League, but then I have to wait 20 years to see them win the league. I'll be damned if anyone puts a, damper on me enjoying until we are not champions, the fact that we are champions.
Right. No, absolutely. Well said. I mean, again, we got to put things in perspective. This is literally the best time to be alive as a Liverpool supporter and many years. So, yeah, I need to calm down, and not think so, think like a stockbroker day trader, goes up and down, but in the long term, we'll be all right.
But this is our time to win the ideological war, my friend.
Yeah.
Like, there's no better time to get people to come out and watch a team. I mean, a lot of Americans, their football fandom, they are the 9-year-old kid I was. They're new, they're fresh. They want to see whoever's winning, and whatever. Bring them on board, and then we'll smack them around until they're proper fans.
Yeah, basically, we if, like I said to you off air, if we're tobacco executives, we got to get the little kids smoking.
Hey, I've had my daughter smoking since birth. I'm very proud of that.
Yeah, but I just want to be clear though, not just little kids, but I mean, as I said about my cousin, the kid could be 35. It doesn't matter. Let's get him on board, right? So,
I mean, you bring someone out to something like the Champions League final party, or even like Man United match day, and everyone's out there, the energy's up, and everyone's singing. In my opinion, that's always enough to turn anyone on.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to figure that all out. All right, Jordan. Thanks for taking the time to be with us today on Origin Stories. I'm just so stressed out, man. Now you got me stressed out.
I mean, thanks for having me. I've never got to tell like the whole tale from start to finish.
I mean, that's the beauty of the show, man. I love all these stories, man. I just get to know, because in reality, when I think about it, when I talk to other fans of Americans or Indonesians about why they like Chelsea or X, Y, and Z, like none of it makes sense, and all of it is, and everyone is different. It's like autism. Everyone is a little different. That's why it's a spectrum, right? Yeah. I can't believe I just compared autism to fandom, but it's all right. Yeah. But essentially that's it. That's why I love these chats. But anyway, thanks for taking the time, Jordan. And have a good international break, everyone. Up the Reds.
Up the Reds.